Hello friends, my name is Mayank Dwivedi. Today we are going to do the last part of Harappan series. In previous videos, we have discussed about causes of decline of Harappan civilization and various theories related to it. And then in the last part of the lecture, we were discussing about economic life of Harappans. And we have already discussed about agriculture and art and craft. So today we are going to discuss about the last part of economic life of Harappans, trade and commerce. Let's start. Trade and commerce were main basis of Harappan economy. Most Harappans were involved in trade activities. Harappans practiced local, regional as well as external trade. Local trade was within nearby settlements. Regional trade was with different parts of Indian subcontinent, and external trade was with contemporary civilization, that is Mesopotamian and Egyptian civilization. Harappans imported gold from Karnataka, lead from central India, amethyst from Maharashtra, shells from western coastal region of India, copper from Khetri mines, lapis lazuli, the blue stone from Badakhsh, Afghanistan. Harappan exported primary and secondary products to outside world. They imported bullion, which is gold. The external trade was in favor of Harappans, as a result of which a huge amount of foreign wealth moved into Harappan cities, and it was a main source of prosperity of Harappan civilization. Harappans practiced a trade through land route as well as sea routes. Rivers were also used for transportation and as indication of granaries located near rivers. In land trade, carts were used, you can see from seal. Harappans were aware of boats and ships. These are depicted on their seals and paintings. According to Mesopotamian records, Dilman, Behran and Makan, which is currently known as Markan Coast, were intermediate trading stations of Harappans. In Harappan civilization, monetization of economy was absent. Harappans didn't use coins. Their trade was practiced through barter system. The flourishing trade and commerce of Harappan civilization left a deep impact on the nature and character of contemporary settlements in Indian subcontinent. In many ways, the flourished trade and commerce resulted in emergence of trade and commerce centers in Indian subcontinent. Harappa was one of the example. Mohenjo-daro was also one of the example. The flourishing trade gave a boost to industries, art and crafts by increasing demands of their product. The favorable balance of external trade was responsible for high level of material prosperity of Harappan people. So Harappans could live a comfortable life because of their flourishing trade and commerce. Trade and commerce also resulted in transformation of character of existing settlements, because under its impact villages got converted into towns, towns got converted into cities. For exam prospect, you can compare it to present economic development of a small town. The cosmopolitan outlook of Harappan civilization was also an outcome of the trade and commerce to a large extent. Because of the element of foreign culture could enter Harappan life through trade and commerce contact with outside world. The trade and commerce was also responsible for multi-ethnic character of Harappan population. Without active commercial relations with outside world, different ethnic groups would have not been there in Harappan population. So let's talk about the element of continuity of Harappan civilization. In this section, we are going to talk about the continuity in prospect, what we have taken from Harappan civilization or what the later civilization have taken from Harappan civilization. So let's start. Even after the decline of Harappan civilization, many of its essential elements could continue in later phase of Indian history. These elements could have seen by having a glance through modern culture. Even today, a multi-class character, a multi-ethnic character, a secular outlook, the matriarchal object classification of the society and the materialistic outlook continued in later period. Early Vedic Aryans were also materialistic in their outlook because they worshipped their gods and goddess for cattle wealth, victory in battle, and to have sons. The element of Harappan political life could also be seen in later phase of Indian history, in Mauryan administration and Gupta administration, because both of them were centralized administration in nature. So we can compare it with modern administration also, which is also a centralized administration to some extent in a polity context, federal with unitary bias. The urban administration bodies of Harappan type could be seen in modern period because the city of Pataliputra administration was ran by council of 30 members. The burial practices of Harappans continued throughout ages, which are prevalent even today. Example, Jainas, Buddhists, even Hindus to such extent. Most elements of Harappan religions continued into later period. Many dimensions of Harappan economy survived the decline of the civilization. Knowledge of agriculture didn't die out. Crafts like pottery, seal making, metallurgy and stone cutting continued during later periods. The symbol swastika is coming down from Harappan civilization. It is used in religious activities even today because it is considered to be pious. The game of chess can also be traced to Harappan civilization because the evidence of chessboard has been found in Harappan cities. The knowledge of music and dance also continued in later period. Harappans used multi-stringed harp-like instrument. The knowledge of birds and animals of Harappan civilization also continued to later periods. Means of transportation used by Harappans in form of carts, boats continued to be used during later periods. So the settled life of Harappan people and the knowledge of house made of burnt bricks, knowledge of digging wells and square pillars used by Harappan continued in later periods too. The metallurgical knowledge of Harappans, also because of gold, silver, tin, copper, etc., were used in India throughout history. I want to point out when we are reading history, we prefer evidences, not prejudice. Be realistic, be rational, be logical, be scientific. So on that note, I have talked about Great Bath, but it is not proven that it was used for only religious purpose. Maybe it could have been some kind of pool for community. So let's continue. Let's discuss about seals. What we know from seals. So what can we know from seals? First, society, which was matriarchal. We get evidences from seal, their religion, their animals. They were nature worshipper, bull worshipper. Get from seals. Economy, it was an agricultural economy. The seal making, the craft and trade advancement, the knowledge of geometry gets from seal. Polity, uniform, secular, multi-ethnic. Not much of that can be clear from seals. The script, the symbols, the words and signs can be detected from seals. So let's talk further. What are the significance of seals and sealings in understanding of Harappan civilization? It was a question which was asked in UPSC. So let's discuss. Seals and sealings constitute one of the most important source of understanding of Harappan civilization. The archaeological excavation have discovered around 2500 seals. The size of seals varies from 0.5 inch to 2.5 inch. Most of seals were made of steelites. Some metal seals have been also found. Harappan seals are quadrilateral in shape. Various symbols are found on seals. The examination of these Harappan seals throw light on socio-economic, religious, cultural and political life of this great civilization. The discovery of seals from Harappan settlements indicates that the seal making was an important craft and seal makers formed an important part of Harappan population. Seals are an important example of miniature art of Harappans. One of a seal found in Lothal, a harp-like musical instrument, was depicted. So it proves that Harappans were aware of music. Seals contain pictographic script used by Harappans. Since seals were made by common people and were used commonly, it appears that most of Harappans were literate. The birds and animals depicted on seals helped in understanding the knowledge of birds and animals of Harappan period. Bull is most commonly depicted animal. This indicates that bull was having a great significance in life of Harappans. Fish is most depicted zoomorphic sign, which indicates that Harappans practiced fishing. Seals throw a light on Harappan external contact. A cylindrical seals of Mesopotamian civilization was also found at Mohenjo-daro. A Persian Gulf seal was found at Lothal. These seals confirm that Harappans maintained trade and commerce relations with these regions. Seals throw a light on various dimensions of religious life of Harappans. Mother goddess, Proto-Shiva and fertility deity are depicted on seals. The depiction of bull on seals may indicate an animal worship. The black marks found on seals indicate something like oil and fragrance were burnt by Harappans to please their deities. The square and rectangular shape of Harappan seals threw a light on their knowledge of geometry. The material of which seals were made of reveals material culture of Harappan civilization. Uniformity found among various Harappan settlements indicates that the civilization was administered by a central authority. Okay, let's discuss about Harappan architecture and city planning. Harappans were very meticulous with their city planning. Houses in Harappan civilization had wells in them, and the sanitation was also maintained through soak pits. Harappan cities were divided into two parts known as Upper Town and Lower Town. There was an open ground between two parts. The Lower Town was located to the east of Upper Town, only Dholvira, which is in Gujarat. The city was divided into three parts. There was a middle town located between the lower and upper towns. The upper town was surrounded by a fort or a cathedral at Surkodara and Kalibagan. Even lower towns were fortified, and at Chanduharo, which is in Pakistan, there was no fort in both parts. Both parts of Harappan cities were laid out in a planned manner. Harappan followed a great pattern in formation and development of these cities. Let's talk in detail about the city planning of Harappans. The main street in Harappan cities moved from north to south direction. It was about 30 meters wide. The main street was intersected by a number of narrow lanes at right angle. The houses were built along the side lanes. There was a small no man's land between two houses. The adjacent walls were not touching each other. Harappan houses were comprised of two or more rooms built around a country yard. The doors were on one side of the wall. In one corner of the house was kitchen. Windows were absent, but ventilators were there. Some houses had double-story staircases, were probably made of wood because no evidences have been found. Mohenjo-daro is this type of site. Most representative site from features of civilization have been discovered from Mohenjo-daro. In Mohenjo-daro, every house had a well. There was a public well on every street. More than 700 wells have been found in Mohenjo-daro. Every street was having underground covered drainage. The drains of side lanes opened in the bigger drain of the main street. The drainage had manholes at regular intervals, which were used to clean drainage. There was soak pit in drainage for recharging the underground water. This means that the Harappans practiced water harvesting. The left out waters in drain carried to fields for irrigation purpose. Harappan collected rainwater in ponds. 16 water reservoirs have been found at Dholvira. One reservoir was so big so that it could store more than 2.5 lakh cubic meter of water. Some of these reservoirs were interconnected. This indicates that Harappans knew the technology of water filtration by using method of sedimentation. These ponds were filled by collecting rainwater in that area. In this way, the Harappans conserved each and every single drop of water available to them. It was because of this highly advanced system of water management Harappan cities like Dholvira could flourish in and around a region which has water scarcity. Dams were built by Harappans in rivers for flood irrigation. Harappans used flush toilets. Harappans were the first in the world to have such toilets. The discovery of the evidence of such toilets indicates that Harappans were concerned about sanitation. To protect the cities from the threat of flash floods, the upper town was built at some height with respect to lower town. It was surrounded by a strong fort. All important installations were located in this fort. So this is it, guys. With this, the lecture on Harappan civilization ends. Please like, subscribe and share. It's free.